The John Lebang Show has been known to make people laugh, sing, think, scream, throw things in rage, and generally lose their minds. Listener discretion is advised.
Worldwide and out to the greater universe, you're listening to the John Lebang Show.
Well, we're sure living through interesting times. Welcome, my friends. Thank you for joining me once again here on the John Lebang Show. So much has happened since we've last spoke that it's going to be hard to fit everything into the program. But the main concern, now that President Donald Trump has declared a national emergency, is that we understand what is coming next. So we're going to be talking about national emergency and what we can expect to happen over the coming weeks and maybe even months. Because if you listen to the CDC guy, he's saying it could last up to 2 months. And that will cause a major issue. Later on, we're also going to be talking about what you can do to make things a little bit better for you and what possibly is going on in general. But I want to hopefully get across to you guys a little bit of peace of mind, some calm out there. A lot of people are starting to panic, and that's exactly what the malpractice media really wants you to do, is panic. That way you do runs on the supermarket and the shelves are bare. It gives them something to report. Unlike that, we're going to attempt to give you things to focus on and to keep your sanity, to help make things better in your life while we're dealing with this supposed national crisis, which is practically a worldwide crisis. Now, we may not hit a whole lot of the news as it pertains to going over this event and that event. We're pretty much clear that things are getting worse and they're heading in a direction that could even be more disruptive to our lives than it already has. Now, many of you have been following what we've been doing on the website, and I want to really appreciate all of you who have tuned in to our new feature called The Daily Brew, which is really an old feature kind of revised for the contemporary times. That is a daily freshen up, a roundup of what happened that day, what's going on, mainly the stuff that maybe the mainstream media is talking about, but not getting into the depth of the story as much, because you know as well as I know that the malpractice media has to push a lot of things through, and they only spend a few minutes on each individual subject. Now, if you go to the Daily Brew on my website, www.jlebang.com, you'll see all kinds of links to articles. We do a new one each and every day, keeping you apprised of what is happening in the world. Now, on Saturday, the president told us that he was expanding the travel ban to United Kingdom and to Ireland. This is just the next step. They've been slowly, incrementally placing these restrictions. They started with coming into the country. They've added more countries. And I suspect that the next thing, and we're supposed to hear on Sunday night, many of you might hear this after Sunday because you're listening to the archives of this show, but we're supposed to hear something new on Sunday. And I suspect that we're going to hear about a travel ban from state to state. They're doing this incrementally so that the population does not panic over the situation. But that is already taking place. The people have finally figured out that this is something that they should have prepared for a little bit. But again, my listeners, if you've been tuned into the John Lebang Show, you have been ahead of the curve. You've already done your preps. You've already done the things that is necessary to get yourself to make it through whatever's coming in the near future. You've gathered your food, you gathered your water, your supplies, all that. Everything, including the essentials. And you all did the best you could do, and that's all you could do. So I want you to not panic over everything. You've done your diligence, but now there are other things that you're going to need to do. Instead of sitting there like a lot of people, freaking out, watching the news, making themselves nervous. Maybe they even turn off the news and they go get high or drunk so they can just put it out of their mind. Because I know there are a lot of people that have done that already. You've prepped, and now you're waiting for the deep breath before the plunge. And instead, ladies and gentlemen, of worrying yourself to death, this is a perfect time to do some more prep work in the areas that you haven't thought of yet. And for a lot of people, you're starting to realize that water might be a concern. Well, we're here to help you with that, ladies and gentlemen. Because not only are you going to need water for drinking purposes, but you're going to need it for hygiene and you're going to need it for cleaning if the events start to take a turn, as they did in China, in Italy, in Norway, and now as we see in Europe, they are clamping down severely. Remember, a lot of people that can't happen here. Well, it's happening, ladies and gentlemen. Just in case this goes bad. So here's a few things you can do to help alleviate that problem. Look around your house for any kind of bottle. Any kind of bottles, any kind of containers that you can fill with water. And then do just that. Fill them with water. Now, if you have a bleach container, some kind of cleaning solution container, laundry soap, any of that stuff hanging around that's empty, fill them with water, and you can use them for the same purposes that you used them before. You don't want to be drinking out of the bleach bottle or the laundry soap bottle or the cleaner bottle, but you're going to need to clean, and you're going to need to wash, and you're going to need to do a lot of things. Shampoo bottles, conditioner bottles, all those things can be filled with water right now before it all goes bad, because there's a lot of people that haven't thought this through. If for some reason the U.S. government puts a clamp down like they did in Italy or Norway, or God forbid, even worse, what they've done in China, and we're going to talk about that because a lot of numbers are being bantied about in China, but most people are not taking into what China did to supposedly keep those numbers at bay. And we'll get to that a little later. Now, if you have milk, pop, Gatorade bottles, wine bottles, whiskey bottles, fill them up right now. If they're empty, fill them up right now. It won't hurt you at all, and you can use that for drinking. All those containers, those bottles can be used for drinking. Just fill them up. Now you have water, while we still have water. Because if they do all the same things that they've done in the other countries, who's going to be manning the water departments? Who's going to be manning the electrical? And if for some reason we get a storm, or you get a storm in your area, and it takes out the power, it's going to take much longer during a quarantine situation to restore that power than it would in any other normal circumstance. So, as you've been doing, my great listeners of the John Lebang Show, as you've been doing for the past 6 weeks, when we really started telling you to prep up for this, just in case. We're not telling you to panic. We're telling you to do this just in case the worst happens. And just like the president said on Saturday, they are prepping for the worst case scenario. And you should too. Not to make you scared, folks, but so that you're not put in a pickle, so that you're not put in a position where you're going to be vulnerable, where you're going to be lacking some certain things. The banger himself has already began cutting back the intake of food. And that's another thing. During this period where there's so much uncertainty and the possible shutdown, because you know from talking to all your friends, all non-essential people are now staying home. The kids are staying home, colleges, schools. You see, they did all that incrementally so that way you didn't panic. And still many did panic because they didn't pay attention. Everybody took it extremely serious on Thursday and Friday. But that was almost too late. And it's a good thing you were tuned into the show because you were ahead of the game. You were ahead of the curve, ladies and gentlemen. And you did your prepping. And now while all those people, and maybe some of them are finally tuning in because we've noticed an incredible jump on the website. And maybe some people have finally woken up a little bit. You may be not where you'd like to be in your supplies, but there are still things you can do. We covered the water bottles. We've covered all the other things you can fill water in, and you just use it. Today, myself, I filled up 2 old laundry detergent bottles that I had, just with water. There's still soap in there, right? Just little bits of soap. You shake it up, and if you need to wash some clothes, you have some soapy water at the ready to wash some clothes if for some reason you've lost power and it hasn't been restored like it would be during a normal time period in this country. But we're not in a normal time period. We're not in a position to where we can just assume that tomorrow will be better than today. Because even as the government is telling us, it looks like it's going to get worse before it gets better. Personally, I would have shut down the whole country 6 weeks ago. But unfortunately, because there's been politics on all sides of the issue, that didn't happen. Trump seems to be doing the right thing now. But sometimes it's a little too late. And I think, I know that it's already here and it's spreading. And there ain't much we can do about it now except stay home. Another thing you can do is we're close to spring right now, ladies and gentlemen. So why don't you start those seeds? Just start those seeds early inside the house. Let them grow in the window. It'll take minimal water. You can use rainwater for that. Put some buckets outside. You got a bucket you use for whatever, for potting or planting or whatever. Go ahead and use it for that. One more thing before we go to break is now is the perfect time, and this sounds a little crazy, but this is the perfect time to start keeping an eye on your neighbors. See if they have been prepping. Have you noticed them prepping? If you've noticed they've been completely oblivious to what's going on, then they could possibly become a problem if this thing drags out for 2 months. I'm not telling you it's going to drag out for 2 months, ladies and gentlemen. That's the government saying it's at least 2 months. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, all the shutdowns, everything surrounding the shutdowns is taking us somewhere into that first, early second week of April. It's across the board. The schools, the businesses that are telling their employees to stay home and work from home. It is pretty coordinated if you haven't been paying attention. It is extremely coordinated. You see, the president brought in the business leaders, the CEOs. He talked to them. He told them what was coming. And haven't you gotten emails from almost every company you deal with? The banking, this, everything, telling you what's up with them and coronavirus. You see, they're all slowly preparing you. One could say they're all in collusion together. But one could also say they're all on the same page because the government put them on the same page, told them a time frame, probably weeks ago. But if not, in the past week or two, to get ready for this. This is unprecedented, folks. We're living through the most interesting times in modern history. This will top the events of 9/11. One way or it may have, the deaths have already surpassed that. When we get back, folks, because we went real long here, when we get back, we'll talk more about what's going on, more on what you can do to keep you and your family safe and strong during this time of uncertainty. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Hey, Uncle Shady, where are they going? Hey, you, get back here. The John Lebang Show will be right back. Are you in need of commercial or residential window cleaning? Do you need your office cleaned? Maybe custodial work? How about some gutter cleaning? If you do, then call Pane and the Glass. For a beautiful shine that's crystal clear, call Pane and the Glass. You can find them on Facebook at Pane and the Glass. You're listening to the John Lebang Show.
It's better than an iRater convention.
Now, on Friday, the president declared a national emergency. A lot of people do not understand what that actually put into motion. People think, okay, national emergency, he's just doing this to protect the public. But many executive orders kick in as soon as a national emergency is declared, such as Executive Order 10995. Which provides for the government to take over all communication and media. Executive Order 10977 provides for the government to take over all power, gas, fuel, and minerals. Executive Order 10988 provides for the takeover of all food resources and farms. Executive Order 10999 provides for the government to take over all modes of transportation, trains, airports, highways, roads, everything. Seaports as well. Executive Order 11000 provides for the government to mobilize people into work brigades under government supervision. Executive Order 11001 provides for the government to take over all health, education, and welfare functions. Executive Order 11002 designates the Postmaster General to operate a national registration for all persons. Executive Order 11003 provides for the government to take over all airports and aircraft. Executive Order 11001 provides for the government housing and financial authority to relocate communities and designate areas to be abandoned and designate new locations to move populations. Executive Order 11005 provides for the government to take over all railroads, all inland waterways, and storage facilities. And Executive Order 11490, signed in by Jimmy Carter on July 20th, 1979, wraps all those up into one ball and provides for the, get this folks, when all that happens, when the commander-in-chief declares a national emergency, it puts all operations, all these things, under the purview of the FEMA director. Did you know that, folks? Now, I haven't found an executive order that rescinds all that. So, all is needed is for a national emergency to take place, and the director of FEMA now can execute any of those executive orders. The executive branch, basically, by declaring a national emergency, transfers all those powers over to FEMA. But it becomes very dangerous in a crisis scenario of this magnitude. And it's a good thing, or we're at least being told that the president tested negative for coronavirus, which is a good thing. So if he were to die, it would get pretty choppy up there, because the more I see Pence and his little beady eyes and his white hair, he freaks me out a little bit. Let's get back, because we need, with all that, we need to get back to making sure you all are prepared for this, just in case it comes. I'm not saying that it's going to go completely south, but it doesn't look good. So I think it's time for all of America to start preparing themselves for the worst. The president declared on Saturday that they're preparing for the worst. And I think the smart people out there have been on top of this. And my listeners, you know you're the smart people out there yourselves. You've been listening all along. And you've done your homework, you've done your prepping. I'm giving you more ideas right now on what you can do to keep you and your family safe. And that's another thing, ladies and gentlemen. During this whole thing, there's going to be a lot of hardship placed on families, because they're not used to just being confined to their house. Because they're practically, and I've talked about it in an article I did on the website on Saturday. It's called COVID-19, the Perfect Hegelian Storm. Now let me begin, folks, by saying I'm in no way diminishing the ongoing threat of COVID-19. It represents to the nation and to the world a dangerous threat. And it's going to be difficult to mitigate the effects that are going to be coming to our health system, our economy, the supermarkets, and our overall welfare. But for weeks, you have been hearing me prepare you, my listeners, for this looming disaster of unprecedented proportions. Notwithstanding, ladies and gentlemen, the virus is the least of my concerns. However, the virus is the central problem at the heart of everything. Its appearance has sparked increasingly abnormal behavior in our everyday lives. The reaction to the crisis has been broad and swift. Sporting events, public education, business meetings, family gatherings are all canceled or postponed. Yet, according to the experts, who are merely agents of the government and the corporate elites, all think those measures are still not good enough to contain this latest kaiju. So far, the only solution is to divide us up even further than we already are, to be afraid of even your loved ones for the fear that the boogie woogie virus is going to attack you. Oh, forgive me. They want us to wash our hands as well. Another solution to the media-driven super hype madness are those new drive-up tests. How convenient, don't you think, ladies and gentlemen? How convenient for the government. Anyone who has a little sniffle can drive up like they're going to Tim Hortons for a French vanilla latte. And of course, you don't have to give your contact information to Timmy Hose when you go there, but, well, here you're going to have to give them your contact information so that they can track you down if you have it. So the overall solution so far is to stay home unless you're feeling sick. Then go out to your local drive-through hot zone to be tested by them. It seems incredibly cockeyed, ladies and gentlemen, and backwards to me. But what the hell do I know, right? I've only been talking about this for multiple weeks, for at least 2 months. It's been the largest news item that has dominated the show. Now we have another looming factor, is the population that will still be gallivanting around the country. Although it is true that employees from many companies are being told to work from home, many others are critical to the overall operation of business. Those people will be exposed until a more drastic solution is enacted. Also, and possibly more troubling, are the people who will resist the recommendations of the experts. Those who continue to defy the self-quarantine that is being strongly suggested. Now, how will they deal with those people? But, I'm sure they have a solution at the ready for that reaction as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we're in unprecedented waters. In times of great crisis, we should heed the words of Mr. Rahm Emanuel. You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. It's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not have done before. Ladies and gentlemen, all I can say is stay safe, folks, because we're into some incredibly fascinating, interesting, historical times when you look at it. If the United States shuts down, if we are watching, like I told you folks weeks ago, when we did the math on when China supposedly first got it and how long it took before they had to come in and quarantine people. And let's talk about that to all the naysayers out there who are not taking this so seriously. It's just a bug, right? They don't quarantine areas for just a bug. Just saying, ladies and gentlemen. Not before. This would be the first time. And then the ones touting the Chinese numbers. Let me bring one thing clear, ladies and gentlemen. They rounded up there's plenty of videos on this. They've rounded up a whole lot of people. Maybe they didn't have coronavirus. And maybe that's why they're not in those numbers. They were potential coronavirus victims. And now they're gone bye-bye. So those wouldn't actually be totaled in the numbers now, would they, ladies and gentlemen? If they weren't affected yet, but they were in association with them, and now they're gone, they went bye-bye, disappeared. They wouldn't be in the official numbers of coronavirus, would they? Just something for you to think about as we head on over to break. We'll be right back, folks. More coming, so much more. We're loaded.
Don't move a muscle.
The John Lebang Show will be right back.
With lots of fun and excitement. Yes!
Jim Jim's Tuxedo and Menswear is your one-stop shop for tuxedos and men's quality suits. We go the extra mile to make sure your tux or suit is the perfect fit. Our huge selection is second to none in the state.
Looking good.
Outstanding customer service.
And we're located on Dix Toledo in Southgate. Call today, 734-285-3253.
Jim's Tuxedo and Menswear is the place to be.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming to Jim's Tuxedos and Menswear.
You know I had to come to the best.
That's right.
Hey, man, it's at the bottom of the hour, man. Do you know where your kids are, man?
If you want to contact the John Lebang Show, feel free to send an email to jlebang@live.com. And if you're on Twitter, look him up at John Lebang. And don't forget to go to his Facebook page at The John Lebang Show. Banger. Now here's John.
Folks, I know I'm all over the place, and please bear with me. There's so much to cover that it's hard to put everything in a perfect order because it all kind of relates to each other because of the situation. So please bear with me. I want to get back as we have some more items that I think is a good thing to have on hand, and maybe the best ways to acquire them, because it's not a good idea right now, in my opinion, to be dealing with any crowds at this point. From what we're being told from all the different sources, that doctors are terrified and they're trying to sound an alarm on this coronavirus because local doctors from Oklahoma City, New York, Lansing, Michigan have all sounded alarms in recent days about the lack of communication they're getting. And if we go to what some of the reports are in Italy, it's horrifying. The public service that everybody expects to be there is not there because there's just too much going on, and everybody is afraid of even being next to people, and dead people are not even being picked up because of the fear of coronavirus. You should really watch the TV series The Stand if you want a quick overview, and you only have to watch the first couple chapters to get an overview of what Italy must be facing right now. And if our government, and I think Trump is taking the right measures, folks, so don't think I'm criticizing Trump at all. His problem is that he has people he has to rely on that are part of the government apparatus. And they are just as likely to be part of the big state, the deep state, the swamp, as the FBI officials and as the DOJ officials were. So I don't blame Trump for listening to these people, because who else has he got to listen to? He brought in private. That was a smart move. He brought in private industry to help out, because I think he knows he can't trust his own CDC all that much. How can you, after all the leaks and all the other things that have happened over the past 3 years, how can you trust, if you're Trump, a lifetime government official, someone who was not elected, someone who's just a bureaucrat somewhere in the greater halls of the government, in some department, some ABC agency? So it was a great idea for Trump to enlist a bunch of corporations to get on the ball. One for the test, although the test thing doesn't cure anything, ladies and gentlemen. And all the test is going to do is make you how can I put this lightly? All the test is going to do is point out that the person who has it has it. It's not going to cure a damn thing. And if you're not already in the I want to self-quarantine mode right now, I mean, that's basically what Trump has been setting up. He's telling us, just self-quarantine right now. Corporations, schools, almost the entire non-essential parts of the economy and education are now at home. And they're going to be at home for a couple weeks. And only the people that are on the front lines, again, the grunts, have to be there because they got to keep the business rolling, folks. And they're willing to sacrifice for the economy And I'm talking corporations at this point. Corporations should have shut it down by now. But they need to keep it rolling because they need them dollars coming in. They need them dollars coming in. Because if they don't have them dollars coming in, they still can't get rich during this crisis. So it's still about money. And they're unfortunately taking the chance of infecting more people this way. Because it's the grunts that are interacting at all times, so it's them that are most likely to catch it anyways. That and the people who rushed out those last 2 days. With all that mass group of people in those supermarkets. Thursday and Friday. Your chance of exposure increased then, not decreased. You were worried about prepping then. The ones that rushed out to get that last minute stuff. But if the virus is as bad as they say it is, which I don't know if it's that, again, we're dealing with government numbers supplied to us by China. Numbers supplied to us by people who do not want us to panic because they would not be able to control the panic. There's not enough out there. And eventually, if this continues, people are going to not have enough supplies at home because they spent more money on teepee than they did on food and water. Although reports all over the place are saying shelves are empty across the nation. But that last minute prepping made you more exposed than if you would have just stayed home. You should have done your prepping increment. And I know many of us didn't have the money. I didn't have the money. I was worried about getting my income tax back, and thank goodness I got a little bit back in time to get me a couple $100 worth of stuff. That's all I could afford, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I could afford. So don't think you did bad by spending because you only had a little bit of money. You did better than everybody, and you did it before everybody else. So your chance of exposure is reduced because you were thinking about it. So you should be proud of yourself. Now you want to get to the next stage, ladies and gentlemen. What's coming next? Well, if you prep for it, then when it comes down, if you're expecting for it, if you're getting your mind prepared for it all, then when it comes down, it'll be just like rolling off your back again. Oh, I knew this was coming. I knew this was coming. So let's continue on some of the things. If you're not completely prepared and you still feel you need to do a few things and you have some money to do it, there are some other things that you could go out and get. And where can you go and get them? Well, right now, your best bets are party stores and gas stations, especially water. If you want bottled water of some sort, party stores, gas stations. Don't forget, folks, that even if all the water is gone, you can grab Gatorade, you can grab pop. Anything to drink has some forms of water in it. Most of you drink a lot of pop anyways, or a good proportion of the population, so that won't change. So don't think water is the only thing you can drink. So if there's something else, fruit juices, something else on those shelves, grab it. Okay? But if you need to go out, I suggest you do it at night to come in contact with the least amount of people. That's how I'm going to roll. I'm telling you this because that's how I'm rolling. I'm not going to tell you to do anything I wouldn't do myself. This will also, if you go out at night and to those 24-hour joints, if you go out at night, this will also give you some valuable intel on what's going on in your area with the government. If they're making any preparations or moves, they're going to be doing it at night, as to not to spook the population. So while you're out there getting those last minute supplies that you're worried about, here's some things you might want to think about getting that the general population probably didn't even put on their list because they were panicking. They were panic buying. And they decided that TP was more important than some of these other items. Candles, flashlights, batteries, Visqueen. Why do you want Visqueen? Well, there are a lot of reasons why you want Visqueen. If you want to grow plants, if somehow a window is broken, you can cover it with Visqueen. Because are you going to be able to get a window in the coming weeks? Who knows? Duct tape, some kind of knife, cut. So like a pocket knife, a hunter's knife, something that you can just cut things with, in case you need to cut things with. You're going to need money. And let me tell you, folks, there's already stories of shortages of $100 bills. And it's going to be coming more and more where everybody's going to be hoarding money now. The banks are not going to have enough to distribute because they never will have enough to. If everybody pulled their money out, people would realize that there's no money there. There's only enough for people to run on an operation for a little while. You need some kinds of defensive items in case this stuff goes for a prolonged duration. Because the people that did not prepare and the people who panicked at the end and bought the wrong things are going to be hungry, thirsty, and since the grocery stores are, and this is something you all need to really understand. There's a supply chain with these grocery stores. They get what they need as they need it in a normal world, okay? They get what they need as they need it. So they stock their shelves once a week, twice a week, as they need it. Problem is, there's not enough in warehouses across the country to stock up every supermarket that is empty to the rim again. There is just not, especially if they're sending everybody home. Who's going to make the cereals? Who's going to bottle the water? Who's going to package them? You see where I'm going with this, folks? If it shuts down, truckers are going to be shut down. Everything, travel's going to be shut down. In fact, I think state-to-state travel will be curtailed in the coming days, if not by the end of the show. You need, for defensive items, you don't always need a gun. If you got a gun, that's great. And I'm not telling you, don't you dare, ladies and gentlemen, go out and rob and kill for this stuff. No. This is called, you're here to protect you and your family. Don't be the kind of person who didn't prepare. And these are the people that are, there's going to be these people out there that did not prepare at all. I heard them the other night laughing at the gas station as I was filling up for my last time. I filled my car up the other night. Get some gas in your car. Get some kind of portable radio if you can. Again, you got to, it's to the point where you don't want to be venturing out with lots of people. So you're going to have to, in my opinion, be very careful. This is what I'm doing, folks. You don't have to follow my advice. But the ones who have been listening for these past, since this event has become a news item, have already found the benefits of what I've been saying. And most of you that heeded my warnings are in much better shape than a lot of other people. Like I said, you should be proud that you prepped up. Don't worry about that. You did what you could, and that's great. Now you're into phase 2 of the prepping. Getting those last minute things set up in case the worst case scenario happens, which the president said on Saturday. That's what they're preparing for. Worst case scenario. I gave you all the executive orders that you can look up right now, folks. You can look up right now and see that I was telling you the truth on that. And if anybody out there can find an executive order that rescinds all of them, please send it to me so I can correct myself on that. But I have not been able to find that. Other defensive items, ladies and gentlemen, as we're trying to, you see where my head is. It's all over. And I suspect that many of you are the same way. You know, what you could do, if you don't have a gun, if you don't have bats or hockey sticks or broomsticks or whatever, is bug spray can be used, especially like that bee spray that shoots like 20 feet. That can be used as a defensive mechanism itself. If you got a slingshot, hell, even a cast iron pan could be a defensive weapon. But again, I'm preaching defense. Don't you guys dare go start robbing from anybody. We're all in this together, folks. And although because of the factors involved where we can't directly go and help out somebody because we might catch whatever they got. You see that angle? We can't even help our neighbors. That goes back to the article on my website, www.jlebang.com. That goes back to the article. Because if we do, we risk exposing ourselves. That's what they got us believing, folks. Again, this is a perfect scenario for the Hegelian dialectic. And other things that you might want to consider: gathering, if you can, rope. You never know. If you have means to grow a garden, ladies and gentlemen, you should be preparing for that now. Because if this lasts for any duration, you're going to want to get those veggies in quicker than in a normal growing season. So you want to start those now, and it wouldn't hurt anyways to get a jump on that. Again, folks, I'm not telling you this to panic you. I'm telling you this to prepare you. Because I care about my listeners. I care about everybody. I hate a lot of the actions people do. And a lot of the people aren't worth my efforts. But there's a lot of you out there that are worth the effort. And I want you all to be safe. I want all of us to get through this crisis and go back to some kind of normality. But unfortunately, there are forces here at work that are trying and are going to implement certain actions they couldn't normally do under regular circumstances. And remember, folks, remember the key to everything is that the powers that be want you to give up your freedom. And they'll find ways to do it. Remember, COVID-19 equals fear. And what do people do when they fear? They surrender their freedom. If we're all stuck in our houses, what better way to imprison us without even a shot fired? We're going to take a quick break, folks, and when we come back, we're going to go over the John Hopkins COVID-19 map and some of the interesting developments that are on that specific website.
Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
Because the John Lebang Show will be right back.
After this. That's guaranteed. Yes. Absolute Skin and Body Care, located in Livonia, Michigan. If you're in need of laser hair removal, skin care, laser tattoo removal, or laser hair regrowth, call Absolute Skin and Body Care. They're located at 37625 Ann Arbor Road, Suite 105 in Livonia, Michigan. Their phone number is 248-533-0448. Absolute Skin and Body Care. Give them a call. You're listening to the John Lebang Show. It's huge. Now I got to tweet about it. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for staying tuned in. Before we continue on with the latest on what's on the website and happening in the world at large, I just want to reiterate something, and maybe I haven't said this enough,
But you have to feel that us here in the United States, we're lucky because we're one of the last countries to really be hit by this. And we're also in the country with supposedly the best medical in the world. But just the fact that we were one of the last ones to be hit with this gave us a little time to prepare, gave us a little time to get ready for this. And we have to feel that whoever's in charge, whether it be the president or his team, whatever's going on up there, that they at least had more time to work out a problem than, let's say, the rest of the world. So that should at least, in some small hindrance, give you some comfort that, we've been spared this until now. And we're talking, this is a couple months old, so we had some time to prepare. France and Spain, on the other hand, have joined Italy in imposing lockdowns of tens of millions of people. Austria's chancellor urges all their people to just stay home, stay isolated, self-isolated. That may be the best advice you can have out there. You've got troops on the street in the United Kingdom. They're protecting hospitals and other facilities. Something I was telling you earlier, and you may have been glossed over because of how much information is being expressed here, is that banks in Midtown Manhattan are cleaned out of $100. Eventually, folks, it's going to be hard to just go to the ATM and get some cash because so many people are going to be taking the cash out. One more little thing, and these are all available on the Sunday edition of the Daily Brew. On the website, shut down. Colorado woman in Italy issues stark warning on coronavirus. She's telling you the best thing you can do in this 2 weeks that most of us are off, and hopefully they'll give us, the rest of the grunts, the time off, is just stay home. Don't look at it as a vacation per se. Look at it as a way to protect you and your family, and that is the best advice you could possibly get. Now, I wanted to direct your attention to the John Hopkins Institute. They have a coronavirus link, which is tallying up all the coronavirus cases across the world. It's a map that has like red dots all over it. If you look closely, ladies and gentlemen, to this map, I'll make it available on the website at the Daily Brew Sunday edition. We'll just add it after the show. But if you look at the map and you see where the virus is spreading and how much it's spreading and how quickly it's going around, there's one interesting piece of information on this website, and that is Russia, who is completely surrounded, China, Europe, Middle East, all the way around them, all the way to the U.S. side. Canada has cases, but Russia, outside of one area, is primarily free of the coronavirus. According to the John Hopkins Institute web page that is keeping track of all this information. We spoke about it last show, I believe, but this is a website where you can see where the cases are being counted at, how many people are recovering, how many people are dying from this currently. According to this website, there's 5,833 people who have died. So far, they say that 73,968 people have recovered. Currently, or in total, they have confirmed that there is 156,400 cases. I'm not sure if those are current cases or those are cases in total. It doesn't confirm that either way. So I'm going to assume, hopefully, for the benefit of this discussion, I'm going to assume that's the total cases that have happened from the very beginning and not just the current number. With that being said, 73,000 people, almost 4,000 people have recovered, yet almost 6,000 people have died. That is roughly, in the cases that they have called done, right? Either someone's end up recovered or somebody who has died. That is about 8% of those people. You hear a lot of people touting numbers, ladies and gentlemen, yet they're comparing the total deaths versus the supposed total confirmed cases. Yet those confirmed cases, not all of them, in fact, more than half of them are not, there's no actual finish to it. They haven't been confirmed to be dead, and they haven't been confirmed to be recovered. So when people banty about the numbers, take into consideration they have no clue what they're talking about. They're just going by numbers that are being fed to them. This website is pretty clear, and you can read it yourself because we'll, again, make it available after the show. About 8% of the completed, I hate to put it that way because people have died, but the completed cases, the not the ongoing cases, about 8% of the total complete cases have ended up in death. So whatever the people are talking about, 2 and 3 and 4%, those numbers are a bit skewed because of the fact that they're taking into account the total confirmed cases and not the total completed cases, which of course you have to do your own math for because they don't want to tell you that number. 8% is pretty high. I think that's considered nearly double of what the official number is, folks. You just have to, a thinking mind, as we preach here on the John Lebang Show, a thinking mind is going to see these numbers and then look deeper into them. Just like we told you weeks back how long it took from China's first official case to when it became an epidemic in their country and they had to quarantine and they had to shut everything down. Look at how accurate we were. We're almost to the exact week, ladies and gentlemen, that it's virtually going to be the same thing going down here in the United States as it did in China. Let's hope our government isn't so heavy-handed about it and hope that more people are smart enough here to self-quarantine. I've talked to some of my medical friends and others I've left alone because they are slammed right now, and they're going to be even more slammed if this reaches the number that they are telling us, folks. Now, if you're 20, 25 years old, you're thinking this is no big deal, right? No big deal. But it is a big deal because a lot of the elders and others are going to fall prey to this. And who knows the reaction of the mob and what the government's going to do. The more the mob is out of hand, the more the government is going to have to crack down. If we can self-quarantine, if we can do the right thing as a people, then the government won't have its justification to come in and crack down on us. But will that happen? I can't tell you that. I can't tell you if the American people are going to be smart enough to just go, you know what? Let's chill out right now. Let's just back off, sit home, take the time, and this is one thing I skipped over earlier. Got to touch it as we only have a few seconds left. This is a great time, ladies and gentlemen, to bring your family together. We've all been busy, all of our families. Then take this opportunity to make your family strong. Because trust me, from a person who doesn't have a family, I don't have a wife, a kids, none of that. I don't have any of that. I'm going to be facing all this stuff alone, on my own. And I can tell you I'm probably more prepared mentally, because that's something we all need to do in case it does come. Because I can't tell you if it will. The signs are pointing that it is. So this is the time to prepare yourself mentally. Check out the website, www.jlebang.com, and until the vibrations of my vocal cords reach your ears again, thank you. We'll see you next time, right here on the John Lebang Show.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.